morning, good afternoon, good evening. Here we are again for another episode of Sol y Punto. This is a knitting podcast which is bilingual. You can go and watch the video in Spanish if you're interested, but here this one will be in English, but I'll say basically the same thing in the other video. My name is Nicole and I can be found on the internet as ThymeWeaver, like time like the plant, and weaver as in someone who works with fiber. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much. Hi, nice to see you. Back for my shenanigans. And if you're a new viewer, thank you for stopping by. I like to record outside, and today the countryside is incredibly quiet. It is now September 2021, and in previous videos I'm mentioning the loud sounds of the cicadas or of other things, but right now it is so quiet. You can hear the wind. It is a little bit windy today, but it's a beautiful day. Gorgeous, glorious, as my grandmother would say. And yes, so in my podcast, I typically talk about my projects, what I'm working on, natural dyeing, adventures in natural dyeing, and at the end of every episode, I like to talk about a plant that is interesting to me. So if you go back in the archives from the first episode, let's see if I could remember these. We've talked about nettles, Hypericum, St. John's wort, we've talked about linden, we've talked about mullein, which in Spanish is gordo lobo, which means fat wolf. And if you've ever seen a mullein plant, you might understand where that comes from. I love that. That's my favorite. My favorite name. Not my favorite plant. I have so many favorite plants. What else have we talked about? We've talked about thyme, we've talked about Saharenia, so many things. So today our plant at the end of the episode is going to be rosemary. So stay tuned. If you're not interested in the plants, you could just stop when the knitting stuff ends. And yeah, so today we'll talk about natural dyes, we'll talk about some whips, we'll talk about some knit-alongs that will be beginning now. We'll talk about some pattern recommendations, and there'll be a giveaway because it's been a long time since I've had a giveaway, and I was the self-proclaimed queen of the giveaways. I love giveaways. I think they're great. So yes, so stay tuned and thanks for stopping by. Get something to knit, something to sip on. Today I'm drinking some rose hip tea. It's just rose hips infused in water all night long, and it tastes like unsweetened iced tea. I don't know, it reminds me of something. I really enjoy it. It has lots of vitamin C. It's good for you. In this recycled Aquarius bottle. This is like the Spanish Gatorade. Yeah, no, we don't want that, but we do want the rose hip tea. Okay, so we'll keep going. Okay, so first, why don't we start with the giveaway idea? So I have been, since I started this podcasting journey, I have been designing some patterns now and again. And now I have the first pattern that I ever designed, which is a cowl, which is called Cuello Salteña, which, if you don't know that story, I talked about my inspiration in episode 1 of Sol y Punto, so you can go check that out if you want. So we have Sol y Punto, we have Cuello Salteña. Sol y Punto is my podcast. Cuello Salteña, we have the top Sol y Yodo. Maybe I'll put some pictures here. The Sol y Yodo top, which just came out this summer, which I absolutely love. That's like a really cool design, really fun. And I just released my lightning thigh goat pants, which was this year's Knit 3 Words Challenge design, and I love them. I knit them in Camaros yarn, and they're so wonderful. It's almost going to be sweater weather, and fuzzy pant weather, so you need to get your goat pants. It's also a really great gift idea to knit for like little kids in the family or friends who are having babies or stuff like that. They're adorable, if I do say so myself. I mean, who doesn't love adorable little fuzzy pants? And for me, I knit myself a pair and I'm super excited to wear them. So anyway, so the giveaway is to win one of my patterns, which are available on Ravelry and Ko-Fi. So to be eligible to participate in this giveaway, all you need to do is leave a comment down below telling me what's your favorite plant, or what is a plant that you have been thinking about lately, or what is a plant that is growing around you. Just the participation is basically just to tell me the name of a plant that you like, or that, yeah, or you could tell me why you like it. So that would be really cool. You could leave that down below because I'm curious to see what types of plants you guys like and what's growing around you wherever you all are. Okay, so that is the giveaway. What else? More things. And now for the knitting. We have a finished object. No, okay, just kidding. We have a half finished object. We're missing a sleeve, but we have a sleeve. We have a sleeve. So this, I'm gonna try and kneel here and show you guys, because today I'm sitting because I thought that I would be more relaxed, and I brought like a little blanket to sit on and hang out with you all on this windy, beautiful, gorgeous day. Sorry, I hope the wind is not too annoying. But this is my Gnocy cardigan. Remember when I thought it was gonna be huge? It's like not that big. I mean, it is a little bit big, but I think it's great. The sleeve also I'm not too sure about. I don't know, there's things that I'm not too sure about, but I think in general it's amazing. I'm gonna show you the back in a little bit because the back is really cool too. So last time I saw you, this was kind of all like in pieces. I think I finished the back and then like knit this band up here and connected them. I connected the shoulders using Kitchener stitch because I kind of love Kitchener stitch and I've memorized it, so I can just do it without even thinking, because there's a lot of Kitchener in Al Sol y Yodo top, that top I designed. So I just like did it 3 times and now I'm a Kitchener pro. Kitchener is a really cool, if you don't know what Kitchener is, it's really fun. It's where you take, like, imagine you're knitting, and then you have something else where you're knitting, and then these 2 live stitches, you can like sew them in such a way that it looks like it's a continuous knitted piece. Isn't that cool? And so I had knit the front flap and then knit the back, and you had to connect here. And the pattern said 3 needle bind off. And I said, well, why can't I just do a Kitchener? So I did a Kitchener, and as you can see here, there were like short rows. Also, this pattern is interesting because the purl side is on the front, which I feel like my purl rows are never really even. This has not been blocked yet. So when it blocks out, maybe like these lines will go away, but I don't really care. Here, I'll show you on this shoulder. Isn't it pretty? This was knit in Tintika's yarn. This is her DK base, and this is naturally dyed with log wood, which is the bark of a tree from Mexico. And it makes this gorgeous periwinkle color. She actually has a natural dye kit so that you can dye your own periwinkle purple, and it's amazing. Anyway, so you do short rows on the back and short rows on the front, and then I did a Kitchener. But I really think that 3 needle bind off, then I did the 3 needle bind off here. So, oh, here's the back. Isn't the back awesome? Look at that! Isn't that cool? And so you like knit picking up these stitches here, and you come to here, and then I didn't know how to do Kitchener stitch if it wasn't stocking knit, so I did the 3 needle bind off. And I like the 3 needle bind off too. That's like even easier than Kitchener. and it makes this like ridge on the inside seam, and I think it gives it a lot more structure. So now I understand why a pattern would choose 3-needle bind off rather than Kitchener. Am I right in thinking that? Tell me down below. I don't know many things about knitting. I'm a new knitter. Well, that's not true. I've been knitting for like 10 years now, but there's still so many things I don't know. And I have the sensation or the thought that if I had done the 3-needle bind off here, there would be like a little bit more structure in the shoulder, because I feel like it's a little bit saggy. I'll put it back on because it's so pretty. It's not necessary to, it's warm, but it's like breezy. It's like not bad. So another thing is I was following the pattern exactly, like numbers and stuff, because it is a one-size-fits-all pattern. So I just went with the numbers for everything. And along the sleeves, I don't know how many it said to pick up, but maybe it said pick up 54 stitches. And I started picking up and I had like 38. And I felt like they were like evenly spaced and it was gonna be good. And then I was like, no, I have to do exactly what the pattern says, because there's this cable on the inside. Oh, that's a hole I need to fix from changing yarns. So the cable down the middle, and then like the decreases and this sleeve part. I was like, I'm gonna do the numbers that the pattern says. But I feel like it's a little bit too big, the sleeve. I don't know, it's a little bit sloopy, but it's fine. When I block it, I think it's gonna be cool. This part has the option to be folded under all of this and then like knit inside, but there's a lot of people who kept, it's just optional, and there's a lot of people who kept the cable like double, and I think I like the cable double because it almost makes like a high neck around there. I think I like this. I'm gonna leave it like that for the beginning, and then if I decide to change it afterwards, I will. So I just need to pick up that, and this is so pretty. It's so pretty, it's so pretty, it's so pretty. I love it, but I don't know, the sleeve, it's very floopy, but I think it's kind of nice. What do you guys think? Yes? Is it a 10? I think it's pretty cool. So, we got that. We got the sleeve, but it's a very cool pattern. Highly recommend it. Definitely do the 3-needle bind off here. I thought, you know what I could do? Like an applied, I think the shoulder's kind of ugly, so I shouldn't really point that out. Just don't look at the shoulder. It's fine. It's fine. But I thought I could do maybe like a double stitch or something, or like crochet. I could like crochet a line here or something to like give it a little bit more structure. What do you think? Okay, so that's that. This is the Gnocy Cardigan by ThymeWeaver, I think is the designer's name, the Japanese designer, and I like it. I like it. What else did I want to say about this? Oh, there's something that when I was knitting like the side, it would always start the round and say like slip one with yarn in front and then knit. And I never did that. I always slipped one with the yarn in back and then knit, because if I was gonna knit, why would I want the yarn in front? So this is my question for you all. Why would I want the yarn in front? I didn't do it. I don't know why I didn't do it. I didn't realize that that's what it was saying until like halfway through the pattern. I just thought it was typical slip one with yarn in back and then knit, because if you're knitting, you want the yarn in back. So why would a pattern say slip one with yarn in front and then knit? Because you want like the yarn to go around the edge or something? I don't know. I didn't do it. Maybe that's a problem. These are my edges. I'm going to pick up here, obviously, here, let me show you. I'm going to pick up here to do the sleeve. So you can see on the inside it is knit, and on the outside it is purl. So these are my edges. And like if I picked up like one of each of these, then it wasn't enough stitches. So I had to pick up like 2 in each of these. Picking up stitches is always very difficult for me. I never know if I'm doing it right. You see here, like I was just trying to pick up one between each of the bumps, but then it wasn't enough. So I had to pick up like 1.5, 2, depending. And that's how I got over here. Again, shoulder's kind of ugly. We're not going to look at it that much. We got to look at the cable. The cable is the nice part. Look at that cable. It's so pretty. Gnocy Cardigan. And if you have any ideas about like slip one with yarn in front and then knit, let me know down below. More things. Oh, before we go on to more things, I did want to mention, well, here's the pattern. This is how it's like repeat rounds 7 to 14. So then I put circles around them and X them out. This is how clearly I've been knitting this for a long time. But here you can see in her picture, the sleeve is like very floopy and big. So similar to mine. The thing is that I've talked about this in other episodes. I think that this pattern, I think I ripped off the first page to use it for something. But this pattern was meant for a more like rustic yarn, and this is superwash yarn. So I think that this has a different like style to it. I think that had I knit it in a more like rustic toothy yarn, it would have been like more structured. But it's okay. I love it, love it, love it. But what I wanted to mention was that I had a problem with my needles. I think my needles were a little bit too big on the whole project. So I was using this size, which I think is a 4 millimeter needle for the whole body and everything. And the sleeve, 4 millimeter. I knit around. My wonderful father got me these at a yard sale. He got me a whole box of needles, and I always have the needles that I need because I have hundreds of needles from a yard sale that my dad got me. And I brought back in a suitcase to Spain. It was a heavy suitcase full of needles. Anyway, so the sleeve is knit in 444, and then when I got to here, I like when cuffs are like, because if I'm washing the dishes, I like to be able to push them up and have them not be like floppy all over. I'm a busy lady. I can't get my cuffs wet when I'm washing the dishes. So, we don't have a dishwasher here in Spain. No. A dishwasher. Anyway, so I switched to a really small needle. I went from 4 millimeter to, I think, like 3.25 for this. So I did like a kind of a drastic jump, but I think it's okay. Isn't that a fun way to do ribbing? There was supposed to actually be one more, but I tried it on and I was like, this is plenty and this is going to grow with the blocking. So that's the Gnocy. Okay, so I'm wearing a shawl that was neither designed nor knit by me, but I wanted to show it to you all today because I have it in my possession, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the inspiration behind this shawl. So, and also to say that I really like yellow. I've never knit anything in yellow, but I think that I need to do some natural dyeing with the Chinchica natural dye kit in chamomile. And because this year the Pantone color was yellow and gray, wasn't it? So I think I need some yellow in my life because this just looks so fun to knit. Anyway, so this pattern is called the Velez Shawl, and this was designed by Marianela with the inspiration of the philosopher-poet Maria Zambrano. And the name might sound familiar to you because I've mentioned her, because the shawl Rasomboetika, Poetic Reason, which is that big naturally dyed brioche shawl that I knit with like 6 skeins of sport weight yarn, which is massive and amazing, and it's like this big triangle shawl, was also designed inspired by Maria Zambrano. That one is by Antonio of Beagle Knits, and this one by Marianela Gallo. And so this one is called Chal Velez because Maria Zambrano was born in Velez, Malaga. Speaking of Malaga, have you seen the video, that's probably the video before this, on my channel of the amazing women in Malaga who crocheted that whole sunshade. Like 9 women did all of the work, and I went to the village to interview them and talk with them. Well, from around there is where this woman is from. This woman was born in 1904, so a really long time ago, and I mean probably more in Spain than other places. To be a woman at that time was more difficult. Her parents were both teachers, and so she like had a full education, and she went to university and studied philosophy. And then when the Civil War here in Spain happened, like in the 1930s, she and her family went into exile. At that point, I think she was in her 20s. Well, yeah, yeah, because she was born in 1904. And so first they went to France, and then she was in Mexico and Cuba and Puerto Rico and all different places. And she was always like teaching as a philosophy teacher. She was a writer, and like her idea was this poetic reason, because she thought that like you couldn't talk about philosophy without poetry and like writing in poetry. And actually I've heard there's lots of documentaries about her in Spanish. And I heard a French translator talking about how difficult it is to translate Maria's work because of how she writes so poetically about philosophy and about, sorry, I'm like in the shade here, about philosophy and about the light. She talks a lot about the light. She has beautiful works, and it's difficult for me in Spanish to read her and understand, because it's very philosophical. And so I want to know more about her, but I've listened to, on eBooks, I've listened to a lot of talks about her life, and I just think that she had a really interesting life. She did not come back to Spain until 1980, the beginning of the 80s, and actually most of her life she really was living in a very precarious economic situation, moving from one country to another in exile from the fascist regime in Spain under Franco, of the dictator. And so, but she went to Cuba, where I don't really understand the politics behind everything, but I think that she's a pretty cool woman. And so she came back to Spain for like the last maybe 6 or 7 years of her life. She died in 1991, so she had a very long life. And she won lots of awards and prizes and things at the end of her life, but most of her life, like I said, she was working as like university professors, teaching in different places, but she thought she liked to investigate like waking life, like dreams and stuff, and actually a lot of her, she had lots of friends and like all these poet friends. And at one point in one of her houses, I don't know where she was, maybe in France at this time, but her friends were talking about how when they went to visit her, like she had all these cats. One of her cats was named Nietzsche, and they said that like it was like entering this whole other world when you went to visit her, because she's a little bit she was a poet philosopher. What do you expect? So this shawl was designed based on her life, and maybe right now we're going to have a little chat with the 2 designers who have designed based on Maria Zambrano's life. So yeah. Okay, so here we are with Marianela. I'm gonna do a little voiceover translation, so if you prefer to hear us speaking in Spanish, head over to the video in Spanish and you can see that. So I was just explaining that we are right now in front of the Garcia Lorca house. So Federico Garcia Lorca, who is a famous poet from here in Spain, he was born in Granada, where Marianela and I both live. So we were at the park in front of his like house. It's like a little museum where he had his house. And actually, it's interesting because Maria Zambrano, who this shawl was designed for or about, was actually friends with Garcia Lorca. They were in the same time period as poets and colleagues, so it's interesting. So Marianela is going to tell us a little bit about her design process and the meaning of each of the sections of her beautiful shawl Velez, which is available in English, if I haven't said that before in the other part of the video. So Marianela explains that normally when she designs, she likes to be inspired by something specific, but this is the only design that she has made that is based on someone's life. In her other patterns, she normally goes to different places, different cities, different countries, different planets. She has her whole Galo Planetas collection, which is designed based off the planets of our solar system. But this is the first time that she designed something based on someone's life. And so it's in different segments, different blocks of time in Maria Zambrano's life. So the first part with the yellow stripes, Nela explains that in everyone's life, you know, people start off in their childhood and maybe they have less difficulties or less problems, and in Maria's life, Maria Zambrano, as she got older and older and you go through the phases of her life, she had more and more difficulties that she faced. I mean, if you look at her biography, she lived through a difficult time here in Spanish history, and then when we get to this next section, this represents kind of the civil war here in Spain, and Marianela explains to us that many people had to go into exile because they didn't have the same political views as Franco, who was the right side, and many people had to leave. And so these triangles represent all of the people who went into exile and left Spain, and it goes down to the tip, and so less and less people were the ones who were actually able to come back to Spain at some point in their lives. So at the edge of the shawl, at the border, at the end, you can see that she has a lace pattern with like leaves and just like the flourishing or the blooming once again of life, and this represents the end of Maria Zambrano's life, when she is able to return to Spain and when she has a lot of recognition for her work at the end of her life. And then there is the picot border bind off at the end, and yeah, so the lace pattern that she has done is really beautiful. And I asked Marianela who is the yarn dyer, because I knew it was a Spanish dyer, and it is by Indoluna, who is a yarn dyer from the east of Spain in Valencia, and it is a merino base, and it's really beautiful. Up close you can see all the little like speckles, and it's really beautiful. So Marianela tells us that the shawl is called Shawl Velez because Velez is the city in Malaga where Maria Zambrano was born, and this is just like to keep in the trend of all of her designs, which are places in this universe. Yes, and so that is her design. So then I explained that I'm also wearing the Rasomboetika Shawl, which is a design by our friend Antonio Beagle Knits, and this is a huge brio shawl. And I said that it's called Rasomboetika because that means poetic reason. And Maria Zambrano was a philosopher, but also a poet, and the way that she wrote her philosophy, it was very poetic, and so this shawl kind of represents that theory or that way of writing, which is the poetic reason, because the shawl starts with reason and then we have the poetry, and then the reason, and then the poetry, and then we have the poetic reason, where both of those come together. I think reason in English is really not the word. I think it would be more like philosophy and poetry, maybe. And yes, we're laughing because, first I say that I'm wearing earrings, which I fell in love with because they looked exactly like the brioche pattern that I was knitting on. And so they are my poetic reason earrings that are made out of wood, and they're made by an artisan from here in Spain. And we were laughing because we said that Antonio needed to be with us that night, but we will meet with him next time. And maybe he'll be on the next episode. Why not? And what else are we talking about? Doing this voiceover translation, I hope it's okay. I'm trying to say everything that we said. We'll see. So Marianela mentions that it is the month of Maria Zambrano because I actually had plans to go the following evening to see a poetry and music event here in the park about Maria Zambrano and all of the people who were exiled from Spain, and a lot of the other poets from the 1927 generation. They say in it's like a group of poets. They in the States we have the beat poets. No, here in Spain they have the group of 27, which is like 1927. And so there was an event, and that was really beautiful here in the park. And I was saying how Maria Zambrano is really awesome because she was a rebellious woman poet, and she did not wear the hats. She went to the cafes with all of the other poets, and she didn't wear a hat. Apparently it was very important to wear your hat in the 1920s and 1930s here in Spain. She did not wear her hat. And so Marianela invites you all to come, and so do I, come to this beautiful park in this beautiful city in the south of Spain. We will be here waiting for you with our needles ready, and we can knit together here in Granada. So come on over. See you soon. So now I want to talk about the amazing little village Alhaurín de la Torre in Malaga, which I went to go visit at the end of August to do an interview and check out the amazing sunshade out of crochet that these 8 or 9 women made for the center of their town. It's amazing. If you haven't seen the video, go check it out. The Spanish video is a lot better because it's the interviews of me talking with these ladies. In the English video, I'm just translating on top of it, so maybe it's not as good as the one in Spanish, but just check it out anyway so that you can see what these women did, and maybe it'll inspire you to do something similar with your fiber group, because I think that any town would greatly benefit from some yarn bomb. Okay. Oh, and I also wanted to say that the reason why I knew about this town is because Christy Glass posted about it, and I saw her post and realized that it was the town an hour away from me. So clearly I had to go see it for myself and talk to the ladies there, and they were so sweet and so awesome. And then after, I got to go to the beach. I live an hour away from the beach, and I never go because I don't have a car. And because I always feel bad, I could take the bus like I did to go to this place. I have a driver's license, but it's only valid in the States. And also, I don't know how to drive stick shift, and everyone in Europe drives stick shift. So even if I rented a car, I'd have to rent a really expensive car that's automatic, because as the New Yorker American that I am, I only know how to drive automatic. I need to learn. Anyway. So I don't go to the beach that often, but I did go to the beach, and I loved it because I love the ocean. This is the sea. I went to the Mediterranean Sea, but I got stung by a jellyfish. A purple people eater, a mauve stinger. It's like the cutest jellyfish ever. I saw it and it was so adorable. It stung me right here in the back and I was like, whoa, I thought I was having like a muscle spasm or something. It hurt like that day, but then a week later it just started getting so incredibly itchy. But you know what helped me with my itchiness? Plantain, the plant, yantin, like it's a plant, not the banana, like the leaves. It kind of looks like spinach. It grows everywhere and it's the best plant ever. You just chew it up or you can make an oil out of it. But I was walking and it started itching and I was like, oh, there's got to be some plantain around here, and I knew where there was plantain. So I used that and it solved my problem. Anyway, why was I talking about this? Oh, my trip to Malaga. So the video is really cool. There's no jellyfish in the video. It's just all about crochet and about their work and their yarn bomb. And it's awesome. So go check it out if you haven't seen it already. Okay, I wanted to show you this yarn, which is a Velez black nose 50% and 50% Jacob. And this is from the wonderful Heather and Hops cat. This is yarn that they had spun and it is so beautiful. I really want to make, so I've been thinking, it's been like looking at me for some time now, and I decided that I want to divide it into 2 balls, naturally dye it, and knit myself some ribbed socks. I don't know why, but I feel like I want to make myself some like snug fitting ribbed socks. And I want to naturally dye this with at least 3 plants that I've thought of already. So the first, let's see, I even brought some as a reference. I want to dye it with olive leaf. An olive leaf last summer, I don't know what will happen this summer because now it's like almost autumn, so I wonder if it'll be different. But olive leaf gave me this like beautiful bright orange color. So olive leaf, then, oh, I brought one to show you, but it's a little bit sad now. My little Vitex, it smells so good. So Vitex, I'll put some pictures in here. Vitex dyes like a beautiful bright yellowy green color, which I'm really excited about. And rosemary. I want to try dyeing with rosemary. I've never dyed with rosemary and I want to see. So I'm not sure. I was thinking that I could even try and, I don't know if I want to dye it like separately or together, but that's what I'm going to do this weekend. And then I'm going to cast on. So, if you guys want to see the results, ready? 1, 2. Here are my colors. So I had to let creativity change the plans and experiment a little bit, but these are the results. So first I'll talk about this beauty right here. So this is like a creamy yellow. I don't know if the camera is catching up on those colors, but it's like a creamy, beautiful yellow, which first started off with olive branch. And if you remember, I'm going to show the picture from last year. The olive leaves gave like this orange color, but maybe because it's fall or almost fall, the color was so much lighter. And I was like, ooh, it's just like a very pale yellow, like not even a lot of color. And so I decided to add some avocado pits. I had like 4 avocado pits in the kitchen, so I put those in there. Then I still wasn't like happy with the color, but it smelled really good. The kitchen smelled really nice. So then I added some onion skins that I had in the drawer that I was saving. Didn't really do that much. Then I added some chamomile, and I just let it sit in there on a simmer for some time with all of the plant material. Because then when it dries, something to keep in mind if you're dyeing yarn, even if whenever you're wetting a skein of yarn, you might think it's tangled, but it's not, it's okay. All you have to do is like put your arms in there and stretch it out. Like imagine if you, it like, in Spanish they say like combing the yarn, peinarlo. So you like even out all the strands and then just let it dry and it's okay. And I don't know, I love this color. I think it's so sweet. It's such like a buttery yellow. It makes me really happy. Yeah, and if there's plant material in there, I learned from the Speckles kit from Tintika that even if there's like a bunch of plant material, you don't have to pick them all out. You wait until it's dry and you whack it like that out a window or in your backyard, and then all the plant material leaves. And if you find someone you're knitting, it's fine. It'll just be a little memory of the dying days, of the days of dying. Okay, so next I'm going to show you. So in the end, right now I'm using a Vitex as my tripod, but I decided not to dye with Vitex because I have a beautiful top I designed by Heather and Hops by Kat, and it's dyed in Vitex. So I have Vitex like in a piece that I love to wear, and I felt like I didn't need to do more Vitex color, but it is a beautiful color. So I decided, since this is gonna be socks, I decided that Artemisa, when I was researching Artemisa for last episode's plant talk, I learned that it has lots of tannins, and tannins are good for dyeing. And Artemisa, they say that it's the traveler's plant because supposedly you can put Artemisa in the bottom of your shoe and it makes the trek lighter on the feet. So I thought, if I'm making socks, why not dye the yarn with Artemisa, even if it's just energetically. I don't know if any of the plant properties will actually stay in the yarn, but maybe. I mean, if the color stays. So I did Artemisa, and it was yellow, but like not even a pretty yellow. It was just yellow. Didn't really look like much. So I was like, well, I could put some eucalyptus leaves, but we have a plant here. I was walking and I found some. I was like, oh, this could go in the dye pot, but they're like long eucalyptus. Maybe it's not even eucalyptus. I think it's eucalyptus, but you know, eucalyptus that you get like at the florist, those like little leaves, but these are like long leaves, but they smell like eucalyptus. So I threw some of those in the pot, expecting to get like a green or something, but still yellow, which I'm surprised because I really thought that eucalyptus dyed blue, but I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong. So then I found a bag of used, like spent plant material from one of Tintika's dye kits of what I thought was rubia, because I left it in a rubia like little mesh bag, so it was like dyed kind of pink, and I thought that it was like rubia chips. Madder. Rubia is like, Rubia tinctorium is the botanical name. So madder root, and I thought it was madder root, so I was like, well, if it's like a yellowish and I throw in some madder root, which is pink, it's gonna be beautiful. And I throw it in, and all of a sudden it starts getting really, really dark. And I was like, oh, that was logwood. And we have discovered by happy accident, we, meaning actually Ida, but it happened when at the Barcelona Yarn Festival, a jar of chamomile and a jar of logwood broke, and so, my battery's dying, broke, and so like sweeping everything, putting everything together, and then she threw it into the dye pot and got like this dark blue navy color, purpley color. I don't know, in person it's really cool because it's a little bit variegated, so we have like lighter colors in there, but I love how logwood mixed with something yellow makes these fun colors. Just have fun with the dye pots. It's so fun. And then the star of the show, for me at least, is rosemary. I wanted to dye with rosemary. Sorry, like this is kind of a mess. I did not skein it very nicely, but it's okay. So I wanted to dye with rosemary because that's the plant I'm talking about this week or this episode. And rosemary smells really good. The whole house smelled amazing. And this smells amazing. Like they still smell like they're plants because I like washed them, but I didn't put any soap in them. And I don't care if like they start wearing, like if the color kind of dissipates a little bit. I did mordant them with alum, so hopefully it'll stay. And I'm going to hold these three, I'm going to do like stripes in the yarn, but in the toes and the heels I'm going to add a strand of mohair that a sage color mohair, which is really special for me. So I'm going to add those in the toes and the heels and hopefully prevent any holes, because I always get holes in my socks, especially if there's no nylon in this. So that's my yarn and my dye experiments. What do you think? I really like the rosemary. Oh, so I did the rosemary, like a big bushel of it. We've got rosemary all over the mountain, all over the city, everywhere. So I brought like a big bushel, I filled up the pot, and it was like a yellowish color. And so I sent a message to Maria of Ninja Chickens, and she was like, you gotta go with a lot of rosemary, a lot. She used dried rosemary, which is even stronger. She used like a pound, and she got this beautiful color. And then she did a modifier of iron, but I don't have any iron. I was looking for like rusty nails on the street, couldn't find any, so no iron for me. And yeah, so she said you need to use a lot. And it was funny because when I was gathering rosemary, I was listening to a podcast about rosemary, and the girl was saying, a little bit goes a long way. And I was like, okay, fine, a little bit goes a long way. I'm sure this will be enough. It wasn't. So I went back and got a whole bunch more. And then I was able to get this color. But this was like 2 dye baths of like the pot full of rosemary. And the house smelled amazing. And it was funny because when I was collecting rosemary, I was walking back to my house, and there was this kid with a group of friends, and he was holding a flower pot of rosemary. And suddenly as I walked past him, he put it on his head and was balancing it on his head. It was really funny. And so I took out a frond of my rosemary. I was like, hey, rosemary friends. And he was like, what? I was like, what? I don't know. So that's that. Isn't it cool? Okay. Now, no, we're not going to talk about rosemary. Now we're going to go talk about other stuff. We're going to go back to the past and talk about more things. And then at the end, we'll talk about rosemary. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to say that there is a knit-along happening starting on September 13th and going until January 6th for knitting Christmas stuff. I know, I did Christmas in July, but it's September and we still have things to knit, don't we? So a friend, Merche of Té con Lana, asked me if I wanted to join her in hosting a knit-along. It's really a make-along, but in Spanish if you say mal, that sounds mal. That sounds bad. Mal is bad. So it's like, you don't want to say mal, so we say cal, but it's really for anything. It's for crochet, for whatever, spin, I don't know, whatever you want to. Fiber art as gifts. What if you're felting? You could felt. As gifts for Christmas. You could felt some ornaments. Yeah, so I think that I'm going to be participating in this knit along, probably making like ornaments and like small little things for family and friends. And like I said, it starts September 13th. We're going to have knit nights on Discord, and we also are going to have a Telegram group, but it will be in Spanish. So if you speak Spanish, you can come. You can come, or if you're like practicing Spanish and you want to come. So that'll be on Discord. If you follow Merche Té con Lana or myself, ThymeWeaver, on Instagram, there'll be more information about like how to get into the Discord group, how to get into the Telegram group, and prizes and fun. And yeah, so the first knit night is going to be on September 23rd. That is a Thursday, and at 8 p.m. Madrid time, like Spanish Peninsula time. So I don't know where you are, but do the calculation. Thursday 8 p.m. Spain time. And I'm really excited. You can knit whatever you want, as long as it's like gift knitting. And you can knit some lightning thigh goat pants for some child in the family. Like if you're knitting them the child size, it's super, super fast. And so that counts as an entry. And if you live in Spain or probably Europe, you can probably order from Mimosa. So I have collaborated with Mimosa, and well, I just sent her some cards with a discount code for anyone who buys the beautiful Camaros Snefnug yarn from her shop. So I think like probably the first 30 people who buy Snefnug from Mimosa's shop will get the discount code. We'll get a little card with the discount code for the pattern. So that's cool. And like I said in previous videos, to knit the pants, like with 2 balls of yarn, you can get like up to 6 months, I think, for like a baby size. And for me, for an adult, it was 9 balls of Camaros Snefnug. And I've got big hips, and so 9. So if you're like a smaller human, it'll be less. A bigger human, it'll be more. But more there, more or less, I use 9 just to get an idea of how many balls of yarn you might need. And what else could you knit? Oh, I have a pattern for, I bought the pattern from someone else, for a stuffed dog, and it's adorable. I've been like really wanting to knit that. I haven't knit that yet. So, and those little birds of happiness. But there's so many patterns. There's a pattern that's coming out really soon. I would say probably in October, and I think it's a really cool pattern for gift knitting. You guys want to see it? I've been like kind of showing you, my dear friends. Hi, look at this, dear friends. Oh, my battery is dying. So these are the dear friends. Oh, I love them. This is a design by Aida of Tintika and myself, knit with Tintika naturally dyed yarn. And right now this pattern is in testing, and we hope to have it out. This was for the Knit 3 Words challenge, but we're doing it at our own time. These will be released probably in October. And really fast. You can knit it up really fast, and they're really fun and really cozy. And they have Latvian braids. Who doesn't love Latvian braids? And color work. So those will be out soon, and that's a fun gift knit. And what else could you gift knit? There's so many things to gift knit. I don't know. You guys get creative. If you have any ideas for fun gift knit, you can make stockings. I found this really cool knit stocking pattern. It's a free pattern online. I'll leave a picture here. But there's so many things for gift knitting. So join the Cal. It is in Spanish, but you can use the hashtag to win prizes. And Navilana, did I say that? Navilana, like Navidad, which means Christmas, and lana, which means wool. Navilana Cal. So you can use that hashtag. And yeah, more things. Also, just wanted to say that I will be participating in Barcelona Knits this year. It's online, so even if you live on the other side of the world, you can enjoy Barcelona Knits. There's gonna be like classes, which are really cool, and online classes for knitting and crochet and spinning and stuff is actually really good. I did a brioche class online, and it was really good with Suzanne. Sosu. So yes, and then there will be vendors, and I will be selling my stitch markers and some other really fun stuff. So I'm gonna leave my Barcelona Knits video here so you can watch that. Okay? Okay. My stitch markers and my little creations for this year's Barcelona Knits online. So first we have these adorable little fishy stitch markers. We've got this little golden fish, which I love because for me, Barcelona is represented by the sea. And I wanted to make a special set with the colors of the festival and what reminds me of Barcelona. So we've got fluorite, jade, and amethyst. And to go through your knitting and find these little markers is just such a little touch of magic and joy. And because we cannot forget about the mountains of Barcelona and the flora and fauna of Barcelona, we have our beautiful little mariposa, our little butterfly, made with the same stones as this set, but perfect for progress keepers or for crocheting, or yeah, you can use them even as like stitch markers like these, but these are more versatile. But both sets will be limited edition Barcelona Knits 2021, so if you want your Barcelona Knits stitch markers, get on that. We also have a new addition to the ThymeWeaver collection, which is the naturally nourishing knit bar, and I'm so excited to talk about this because this has been a collaboration with my wonderful knitter sister-in-law Alejandra, who is amazing at making all of these creams and soaps and things. And so this is a bar made with shea butter, cocoa butter, vegetable wax, and vitamin E, and that's it. It smells delicious and it leaves your hands silky smooth. It absorbs very quickly, and it's perfect to keep in your project bag and apply to your hands before you knit on that really special project. So excited about everything, and I hope that you enjoy this year's Barcelona Knits. Muchas gracias por todo y nos vemos por ahí. Rosemary, Rosemarinus officinalis. This is a plant which everyone probably knows. Rosemary, no? It was called Rosemarinus officinalis only until 2017, when it was changed to Salvia Rosemarinus, because I guess it's in the sage. They decided it was more like sage. So this is a fragrant shrub, evergreen. It can have white, pink, purple, blue flowers native to the Mediterranean. You know rosemary. I'm sure you have rosemary in your kitchen. The name Rosemarinus comes from the Latin for dew of the sea, because they say that whenever you find rosemary, you know that the sea cannot be far. In Spanish, to say dew, it is rocío. Rocío. It's difficult for me to pronounce that R. Rocío, also, because the sea, my pronunciation. Anyway, so this plant has been special to humans for a very long time. You can find like drawings of it or carvings of it in cuneiform tablets from like 5000 BCE. It was also found like in Egyptian burial rituals, sacred for the Greeks and the Romans. Like, can you imagine those like philosophers from way back when, and they have like a sprig of something right over their ear? That's rosemary, because rosemary is really good for memory and for remembering and for studying. So yeah, ancient Greeks wore garlands to improve memory for exams and would sleep with it under their pillow the night before. Honestly, I was listening to a podcast about rosemary, and the girl said that she thought it would be a really cool idea to make dream pillows out of Artemisa and rosemary. Artemisa for like more of like the colorful dreams, and then rosemary to remember them. And I thought that was brilliant. So we all know how to sew, don't we? So we could all make dream pillows out of rosemary and Artemisa. Also, it is super anti-moth, like lavender and rosemary. So when you make those little stuffies or like tree ornaments of wool and you gift them to people for Christmas, why don't you fill them with rosemary and lavender? That's what I did, like not even thinking about it, but now I realize that it will repel any pests, which is really cool. What else? Bees love it. So, and it's a plant that can be flowering like all year round, especially here in Spain. I feel like the bushes always have it. Shakespeare has written of it in Ophelia. He says, "There's rosemary. That's for remembrance. Pray you love, remember." They say that rosemary is the scent of déjà vu. Also, it's used in it has been used in the past for like wedding ceremonies and courtship, and because it's like remembrance, which leads to fidelity and loyalty. Apparently, Sleeping Beauty in the original story was awoken by Prince Charming by brushing a sprig of rosemary over her cheek. And they say that in Midsummer's Night's Eve, if you put a bowl of flour under a rosemary bush in the morning, your true love's initials will be written in the plate. Oh my gosh. How is that possible? Do you guys know the song Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, remember me to one who lives there. for she once was a true love of mine. Apparently Napoleon had like an affinity towards rosemary, carried it and sniffed it everywhere. Something with his wife, that like he made her like bathe in it before she could enter the sleeping chamber. I don't know. Also, rosemary is like really antibacterial and antimicrobial. And so during the plague, you know, those like long plague beaks that people would wear, they would stuff those with rosemary and other fragrant herbs to prevent any epidemics. Has been used as incense, also a preservative for meats and foods before there was refrigeration, control against pests, so many things. Also, what does Shakespeare, I wrote down another Shakespeare quote, there's rosemary and rue, these keep seeming, and I don't know what I wrote here, all winter long. Grace, remembrance to you, from A Winter's Tale. I don't know. Anyway, taken internally, I mean in food, like rosemary potatoes with garlic, well, that sounds really good. But it's really good for like digestion and a digestive tonic, energy tonic. Also, it says that like it's a really good like mood lifter. Like people who don't want to drink too much coffee can make some rosemary tea. It's really good for your circulatory system. It like moves things around. And I guess that's where the memory thing comes in, because like it moves around blood in your brain, and so you remember more things. But people say that like if you study with it, for me it definitely has like a strong, maybe it's because I learned that it was connected with memory, but like I have strong memories of like making rosemary foot baths when I lived like in another house, and like when I smell rosemary, like I remember that time because I was like really into rosemary for a couple of months. Anyway, it's also really good for your hair, follicles and stuff, so you can make like a strong tea and use it as a rinse for your hair. Oh, and Mary and Joseph, so this is a story. They say that Mary and Joseph, when they were fleeing with infant Jesus, Mary placed her damp blue cloak on the rosemary bush to dry it, and the rosemary, thus blessed forevermore, has had blue flowers. And yeah, so rosemary is like the power to protect against evil. I don't know. They say that a sprig of rosemary hung by the door allows only love to enter, and it has been used as Christmas decoration, and that's because winter pruning is really good for rosemary. You can use it as a smudge. They also say it's good for so it's sneezing. Good for dementia, blood flow to the brain. I don't know, it's just a nice plant. Put it on your food. Make some, I don't know, it's like warming, related to the sun, circulation. It's, if you're like cold in winter, make a nice hot foot bath of rosemary. That'd be really nice. Or people make like liniments, which is like an alcohol and oil spray. It's really good for like moving stagnation. It has a lot of like wind and fire, wakes you up. Ooh, I've heard that you can make a really nice vinegar, like make it vinegar. I mean, you can put that vinegar in your hair. People put apple cider vinegar in their hair, but also vinegar for eating or drinking, you know. So easily accessible. The dew of the sea. Apparently it's like helps with change. Those are more like esoteric ideas. I don't know. But I highly recommend getting some rosemary in your life. Okay. Ciao. See you next time.